"You're a relic, Greg, and your salary's bleeding us dry," Ryan barked, leaning across his sleek desk, eyes blazing. "Step aside or I'll make sure you regret it." My name is Greg Marshall, 55 years old, Senior Client Relations Executive at Pinnacle Solutions in Albuquerque, New Mexico. 18 years of growing their client portfolio from scratch, and it all ended in a 10-minute meeting on a Thursday morning. I'd sensed it coming for months. Ever since Ryan Caldwell became regional director, there were rumors. Reorganization, innovation, budget slashing, all the corporate jargon that signals someone with experience is about to be pushed out. Ryan was 38, wore custom suits pricier than my first motorcycle, and tossed around disruption like it was a menu item at a trendy cafe. In meetings, he'd give me this look. Not hostility, just irritation, like I was a typewriter in a room full of tablets. Something functional but outdated. "You're throwing away decades of trust for what? A cheaper kid with a TikTok account?" I shot back, keeping my voice steady. His jaw tightened. "Watch yourself, Marshall. The future doesn't wait for dinosaurs." "The market's evolving," he went on, barely glancing at my personnel file. "We need people who get digital trends, influencer marketing. You understand." I just didn't buy it. I'd forged bonds with our top clients through countless calls, dozens of face-to-face meetings, and 18 years of solving problems no algorithm could handle. When Alan from Apex Industries faced supply chain issues that nearly sank his company, I renegotiated his payment terms over a single weekend. When Diane from Silverstone Enterprises lost her father, I hand-delivered a contract renewal so she could focus on her family. But Ryan wasn't interested in those stories. He saw my salary and envisioned replacing me with a 20-something at half the cost. "I understand completely," I said, shaking his hand. He looked relieved by my composure, even praised my professionalism. "Don't think this is over, Ryan," I said under my breath as I turned to leave. His eyes flickered with unease, but he said nothing. As I packed my office that afternoon, Karen from finance stopped by. She'd been there almost as long as me. "You okay?" she asked, lingering in the doorway. "I'm fine," I said, and meant it. "They're clueless," she whispered, checking the hall. "Ryan's got the board thinking he's a visionary." "He's a snake," she added, her voice low. I heard him bragging about cleaning house to impress the investors. I nodded and kept emptying my desk. What they didn't know was I wasn't upset. I was already planning 3 moves ahead. While Ryan was fixated on spreadsheets, I was recalling phone numbers, commitments, and 18 years of clients who didn't call Pinnacle Solutions. They called me. I joined Pinnacle Solutions when it was called Southwest Consulting Group. 4 employees, a cramped office with flickering lights, and more hustle than clients. Back then, Walter Bennett ran the show. A former ad man who believed business thrived on relationships, not just deals. People sign contracts with people, he'd tell me, not logos. Don't forget that. I never did. For 18 years, I lived by that mantra. I was the first call for clients with issues and the last they spoke to before renewing contracts. My phone held more direct contacts than the company's database. My marriage suffered for it. Linda and I divorced 10 years ago, partly because I'd put Pinnacle's growth before our own. My daughter Emily spent her teenage years seeing me mostly on weekends. Now 26, she gets it better. She was the first person I called after Ryan's meeting. "They did what?" Her anger flared instantly. "Dad, you built that company. How dare they treat you like trash?" "It's business," I said, driving home with my office packed in one box. "A new director wants his own people. After all you've done, that's just wrong, Dad." "I know, Em," I said, gripping the wheel, "but I'm not letting them bury me." She wasn't wrong, but I wasn't chasing vindication. I was focused on what came next. The signs had been there for months. Walter retired 2 years ago, selling his shares to investors who vowed to preserve the company's ethos. 8 months later, Ryan showed up with his slide decks and business school lingo. Suddenly, our quarterly meetings were filled with phrases like customer acquisition metrics and brand scalability. Nobody talked about relationships anymore. A month ago, I'd overheard Ryan in the boardroom with HR. "The veteran staff salaries are misaligned with market benchmarks," he said, "especially in client relations, veteran staff salaries." That's what I was now, a fossil. I'd gone back to my office and opened my personal contact list, not the company's CRM. Names, numbers, 18 years of notes on anniversaries, second homes, favorite bars, details no software could capture. Then I called Stephen Harper, a former colleague who'd left 6 years ago for a rival firm. We'd kept in touch, meeting for coffee every few months. "How's Harper & Dunn treating you?" I asked casually. "Expanding fast," he said. "We're actually looking to grow our client relations team." "You're serious?" I asked, my pulse quickening. "Any chance you'd want me?" He laughed. "Greg, I've been waiting for you to jump ship for years," I smiled. "Good to know." The day Ryan called me in, I already had Stephen's offer letter in my inbox. 4 days after being let go, I sat in the parking lot of Sandia Golf Resort, watching Ryan arrive for his 3 p.m. tee time. He was meeting Alan from Apex Industries, my top client for 12 years. From my car, I saw them shake hands. Ryan's animated gestures, Alan's polite but distant nod. That's when it sank in. Ryan wasn't just replacing me, he was trying to inherit my role. He thought client loyalty could be passed like a baton. Meeting by meeting, handshake by handshake, he planned to slide into the relationships I'd spent 18 years nurturing. I watched them head to the first tee and something clicked. Not anger, but certainty. My phone buzzed with a text from Alan. "This guy's all talk. Call me later." I grinned. Ryan was in over his head. I started my car and drove to Harper & Dunn's downtown office. Stephen met me in the lobby, surprised. "Thought you were taking a week to consider our offer." "I'm done waiting," I said, "but I want to tweak the terms." In the boardroom, I outlined my needs: full control over client onboarding, my own team setup, and critically, no non-compete restrictions on my former clients. Stephen listened, then brought in Elizabeth Dunn herself. "You're basically asking to bring your client roster with you," she said after hearing my plan. "I'm not taking what isn't mine," I replied. "These relationships exist because of 18 years of effort. The contracts may be pinnacles, but the trust is mine." "You're bold," Elizabeth said, a spark in her eyes. "Prove you can deliver, and I'll back you all the way." Elizabeth eyed me for a long moment, then nodded. "Make it work, and the terms are yours." That evening, I sat at my dining table with a notepad and my phone. I wasn't bitter. I was driven. This wasn't about spite. It was about honoring the work I'd done and the promises I'd kept. Emily called as I drafted my list. "How you holding up, Dad, for real?" I thought about it. "Better than I expected," I said. "Sometimes you need a shove to find where you belong." "So, what's next?" "I'm taking back what's mine," I said, my voice firm. "Ryan's about to learn what 18 years of loyalty looks like. I'm starting over," I said, eyeing the 12 names circled on my pad, "but not from zero." After we hung up, I opened my laptop and began emailing not clients, but their assistants, the gatekeepers I'd always treated with the same respect as their bosses. "Could you let them know I've taken a new role? I'd value a chance to update them personally." No pressure, no pitch, just honesty. By 1 a.m., I had replies from 9, all saying the same. "They want to talk to you." One assistant added, "Mr. Allen's furious about your exit. He's already drafting a letter to Pinnacle's board." I shut my laptop and slept better than I had in months. Tomorrow was day 1 of showing Ryan what he'd discarded. My first call was to Alan at Apex Industries. No assistant, straight to his cell. "Greg, was wondering when you'd reach out," he said, sounding relieved. "Met your replacement at golf yesterday. Spent 3 hours preaching optimization and didn't once ask about my son's promotion." "That's why I'm calling," I said. "I've moved to Harper & Dunn. But this isn't a sales call, Alan. If you're good with Pinnacle, that's what counts." A brief pause. "Send the paperwork," he said. "We stick with you." By week's end, I'd had similar talks with 8 other clients. No hard sell, just transparency. I was at a new firm and they could follow if they chose. They all chose to. It was Diane from Silverstone Enterprises who tipped me off first. "Your old company called yesterday," she said. "Some pushy guy named Ryan claimed you're violating your contract, that clients can't legally move to you." "He said what?" I asked, my blood heating. "He threatened to sue us if we left," Diane said. I told him where he could shove his threats. I thanked her and called Stephen, who patched me through to Harper & Dunn's legal team. They confirmed my hunch. Ryan was bluffing. My contract had a non-solicitation clause, but nothing barred clients from following me on their own. As long as you're not actively poaching, you're clear, the lawyer said. The next morning, I found an email from Ryan. Subject: cease and desist. It was predictable. Threats of lawsuits, accusations of client interference, demands to return all proprietary client data immediately. It closed with an offer to discuss settlement terms before this escalates. A second email followed, marked urgent. You're making a mistake, Greg. Stop now, or I'll bury you in court. I printed it and handed it to Stephen. He's panicking, Stephen said with a wry grin. The board must be asking hard questions. He doesn't get what's happening, I said. He thinks I stole something. That afternoon, my phone rang. It was Karen from Pinnacle. They're in chaos, she whispered. Ryan's been in board meetings all day. They're talking client retention incentives, emergency campaigns. He's claiming you hacked the CRM. Hacked? I laughed, incredulous. He's desperate enough to lie that badly. Karen's voice dropped lower. He's telling everyone you're a traitor, Greg. Be careful. I laughed. I've never even used the CRM. You know that. I know. That's why I'm calling. They're hiring a firm to audit system activity. When they find nothing, they'll have to admit you didn't take anything. Exactly, I said. But Greg, watch out. Ryan's desperate. He told the board he could cut costs without losing clients. Now he's lost 9 in a week. After we hung up, I updated Elizabeth Dunn. She wasn't worried about the legal threats, but was impressed by the client shifts. 9 major accounts in 6 days, she said, without a single pitch. I've never seen that. It's not about pitches, I said. It's about trust. As I left for the day, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Ryan Caldwell. Meet me tomorrow 10 a.m. Desert Brew, downtown. Let's keep this civil. Another text followed. Don't test me, Greg. You won't like what happens. I showed it to Stephen, who advised against it. He's cornered. Don't give him leverage. But I disagreed. I want to hear him out. The next morning, I arrived at Desert Brew 10 minutes early, picking a table with a view of the door. Ryan walked in at 10:07, spotting me after a quick scan. His usual swagger couldn't mask the strain in his posture. Thanks for coming, he said, sliding into the booth. I think we started off wrong. I stayed silent, waiting. Look, he pressed, leaning in. What'll it take to stop this client drain? The board's on my case. Whatever Harper and Dunn's paying, we can match it plus a bonus. You think you can buy me back after spitting in my face? I said, my voice low. His eyes widened. I'm offering you a way out, Greg. Take it. And there it was. He was exactly where I wanted him. I'm not coming back, I said flatly. Ryan's polished grin wavered. Then what? A consulting deal? Finder's fees for the accounts you're taking? I sipped my coffee slowly. You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about money. Everything's about money, he said with total conviction. That's why you're losing. I set my cup down. Those clients aren't following me for better prices or slicker services. They're following me because for 18 years I took their calls on Sundays. I knew their kids' birthdays. I treated them like people, not numbers. Ryan's face tightened. Very noble, but let's be real. Name your price to stop stealing our clients? Stealing? I snapped, leaning forward. They're leaving because you threw away the one person they trusted. That's on you. I haven't stolen anyone. I haven't broken any contracts. I just told people where I am, and they chose for themselves. He leaned back, sizing me up. The board's furious. They hired me to modernize, cut costs, not lose millions in accounts overnight. And who'd they blame when you told them? I asked. His slight wince gave him away. That's not the point. It's my point, I said. I'm guessing you didn't tell them the truth. That you fired the guy who held those relationships together without grasping what that meant. That you saw my salary as a cost, not an asset. Ryan's jaw clenched. They know restructuring has short-term hiccups. Is that what you call losing 35% of your revenue base in a week? A hiccup? That landed. His eyes widened. 35%. It's 9 clients. 9 clients who make up over 1/3 of Pinnacle's yearly billing, I clarified. But you wouldn't know, would you? You were staring at payroll data, not client value reports. His face paled. I knew then he'd been downplaying the losses to the board. How many more could leave? He asked, quieter now. All of them, I said truthfully. Every major client I managed for 18 years has contacted me. I haven't even had to reach out. He stared at me, stunned. What if I tell the board you've been soliciting clients, that you stole proprietary data? Go ahead, I said, my voice ice cold. Lie to them. Watch how fast they turn on you when the truth comes out. Then you'd be lying, I said calmly, and your IT audit will prove it. I didn't take a single file, download a single record, or betray a single trust. All I took was 18 years of relationships I built myself. You can't scare me with lies, Ryan. He recoiled like I'd struck him. How'd you know about the IT audit? I smiled. People talk to people they trust. Another thing you don't get about this business. Ryan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and panic flickered across his face before he masked it. I need to take this, he said, standing quickly. We're not done. Oh, we're done, I said as he walked away. You just don't know it yet. But as he rushed outside for the call, I knew we were. Whatever was unraveling at Pinnacle was moving faster than he could handle. That afternoon, Stephen stopped by my office, looking puzzled. You got a call from Walter Bennett, he said. Your old boss who retired? Old boss and former owner, I corrected. Did he leave a number? Said you'd have it? Also said, quote, the board's in crisis mode. They need to talk to you now, Stephen said, a grin creeping in. I nodded. Ryan's house of cards is collapsing. I nodded, unsurprised. Thanks. After Stephen left, I leaned back, weighing my next step. Things were escalating faster than I'd expected. Walter wouldn't have called unless something big was brewing. I dialed his number from memory. They're freaking out, Walter said without preamble. When the board realized which clients bailed, they called me to figure out what's going on. I leaned back. What'd you tell them? The truth. That Pinnacle's client stability came from you. That you were worth every dollar they paid and more. Did you tell them Ryan's been lying to cover his tracks? I asked. Walter snorted. Didn't need to. They're figuring it out themselves. I appreciate that, Walter. It's not about appreciation, he snapped. It's about 18 years of work being trashed by some kid who thinks business runs on apps. The board's holding an emergency meeting. They want to know if you'd come back. I wasn't shocked, but it wasn't what I wanted. I'm settled at Harper & Dunn now, with 9 of our top clients, Walter said wryly. Soon to be 12, I admitted. 3 more are signing this week. A sharp whistle came through the phone. No wonder they're in a tailspin. That's 52% of Pinnacle's annual revenue. I finished for him. A pause. You always knew everyone's numbers better than they did, Walter said. So, what's your move, Greg? The board's ready to offer you Ryan's job to stop the bleeding. It was tempting for a moment. Then I recalled Ryan's curt tone. How he'd barely glanced at me in our final meeting. How 18 years of loyalty became a line item on a budget sheet. I don't want his job, I said. But I do want something else. Name it. A partnership. Harper & Dunn and Pinnacle share client services for accounts that benefit from both firms' strengths. Walter went quiet, thinking. You want the board to greenlight a partnership with the firm that's gutting their client base? I want them to wake up, I said, my voice sharp. Ryan's driving Pinnacle into the ground. This is their last chance to survive. I want them to face reality, I corrected. At this rate, Pinnacle won't have enough big clients to survive. A partnership stabilizes both companies. My clients get the best of both firms. Pinnacle keeps partial revenue instead of losing it all, and Harper & Dunn gains market share without a fight. And Ryan? That's the board's call, I said, though we both knew his fate. I care about the clients and the employees caught in his cost-cutting mess. Walter chuckled. You always were the better strategist. I'll pitch it to the board tomorrow, 10 a.m. sharp. After hanging up, I called Elizabeth Dunn to my office and explained the plan. She listened, scribbling notes. This is surprisingly generous, she said. We could just wait a month and scoop up the rest when Pinnacle collapses. And let Ryan's ego destroy good people's lives, I countered. No, we do this right. We could, I agreed, but that'd hurt good people who work there. This way, both firms win. Clients get top service, and no one loses their job over one guy's bad call. Elizabeth studied me, then nodded. You're not in this for payback. Payback's a waste, I said. I'm building something better. The next morning, my phone rang at 10:50. Walter, from the board meeting. "They're in," he said. "Full partnership agreement, pending legal review. Ryan's been asked to resign immediately." "He's out?" I asked, a grim satisfaction settling in. "Kicked to the curb," Walter confirmed. "The board's done with his lies." "And the employees?" "No more restructuring," he confirmed. The board admitted they got suckered by Ryan's cost-cutting pitch. They forgot what drives this business. I thanked him and hung up, feeling a burden lift I hadn't known I carried. It wasn't about winning or revenge. It was about setting things right. Elizabeth appeared in my doorway, eyebrow raised. "We have a deal," I told her. "Now we build something better than either company could have done alone." She smiled, all because they underestimated the guy who just nodded and left. 7 weeks later, I stood at a podium in Harper & Dunn's conference room, facing clients from both companies, board members, and staff. The partnership was being formalized today. Ryan was gone, last I heard, taking a role at a startup in Santa Fe where his budget might fit. "Today marks a new chapter in our industry," I said, scanning the crowd. "Not a merger, not a buyout, but a true partnership rooted in the truth that business thrives on people, not spreadsheets." In the back, Walter beamed with pride. Beside him stood Karen and other Pinnacle staff who'd feared for their jobs weeks ago. The partnership was straightforward. Clients picked their primary provider but accessed both firms' specialized services. Revenue split based on service use. Most crucially, I'd lead the unified client relations teams from both companies. After the announcement, Alan from Apex Industries approached, shaking his head in awe. "When you left Pinnacle, I'd have followed you anywhere," he said. "But this? It's bigger than I imagined." Diane from Silverstone joined us, nodding. That young guy never grasped what he was tossing out, but we did. "Ryan called me yesterday." Diane added quietly, "Begged me to stay with Pinnacle." Sounded like a man who'd lost everything. As the event wrapped, Elizabeth Dunn found me by the windows overlooking Albuquerque. "The board's calling it a coup," she said. "In 7 weeks, you've reshaped both companies and locked in client loyalty for years." I shook my head. I just reminded everyone of what they already knew. Business isn't about cutting costs, it's about relationships. "And revenge?" she asked, smirking. "Revenge?" I said, my voice steady. "I didn't need to destroy Ryan. He did that himself." "The best revenge wasn't taking the clients," I said, gazing over the city. "It was showing everyone how to keep them the right way." 2 months after the partnership announcement, I left the office early to meet Emily for dinner. She'd followed the saga with pride and disbelief. "So, you're basically running the show now," she said as we sat in our booth. I shrugged. "It's not about running things. It's about doing them right." "Still," she pushed, "the guy who fired you is out. You're calling shots for 2 companies, and your clients think you're a legend. And you're proud of your old man, right?" I teased. Her eyes softened. "More than you know, Dad." "I'm just a guy who picks up the phone on weekends," I said, grinning. After dinner, I drove to my quiet house, reflecting on the past few months, from being abruptly sacked to redefining Albuquerque's business scene. It was never about settling scores with Ryan. It was about proving the lasting worth of what I'd built over 18 years. The next morning, I arrived at my office to find a small package on my desk. Inside was a framed photo of the original Southwest Consulting Group team. Just Walter, me, and 3 others outside that dingy first office 18 years ago. The note read, "People sign contracts with people. Always remember that. Walter." I set the frame on my desk where clients would see it, a reminder of where it began and why it mattered. That day, I had back-to-back client meetings from both Pinnacle and Harper & Dunn. Not putting out fires or managing fallout, just the steady relationship building I'd mastered over 18 years. As I dialed my first call, I felt something rare, pure satisfaction, not from winning a corporate fight, but from knowing that doing business the human way still mattered. In the end, Ryan had done me a favor. By trying to swap me for someone cheaper, he'd shown just how invaluable I was. That lesson was worth every second of the journey.